everybody? Welcome to the PGH Chris TV show here, hosted by PGH Chris Productions. I am PGH Chris TV. The last Ohio State review of the year is finally here. I know yesterday, during the halftime report and the post game show, my short ones, I was mobile. I was out for the New Year's celebrating with my family and friends. So happy New Year to everybody. We are in now January 1st, day after the Cotton Bowl. Miami and or excuse me, who's playing right now? Alabama and Indiana in the Rose Bowl's on right now, and looks like Indiana is probably going to end up winning the game, and you know they kind of might break the first round bye curse, which I am going to get into in this video. But before I get into any of that, again, happy New Year to everybody. I hope 2026 has a lot in store for everybody. We had a great 2025. I know I put out a tweet earlier up this year or earlier up today about just some things that I wanted to share about my overall year in 2025. So I'm really appreciative that you guys stuck around. You know, even yesterday you guys killed it. So it's gonna be the last Ohio State video of the year. Obviously our season's over, so I want to get into a little bit of what I liked and what I didn't like yesterday. But if you are checking this out, please check out our sponsor, Dubby Energy. Dubby. Use the code PGHCHRISTV. It is the official sponsor of the PGH Chris TV show and PGH Chris Productions. And let's hear a word from Dubby. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHChris at checkout for 10% off your order for Dubby. Join the Dubby movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGH Chris TV show. Now, let's get back to our program. So, it was a heartbreaking day yesterday, man. New Year's, Ohio State, they love to put the Ohio State games on New Year's. Obviously, we saw that with Georgia a couple years ago, and that did not end up working well. I actually hated it. It ruined my New Year's. I'm sure a lot of people ruined New Year's as well. But I mean, I don't know. I talked a little yesterday about it in the little 5 minutes that I spent, where I didn't like Ryan Day calling the play calls. I heard Nick Saban today talk on College Game Day about how they need to change the calendar in college football, and he's 100% correct, man. Transfer portal, coaches included, man. It's a bad situation, and I'm bringing all that up because to me, there's no way that the reason why Ryan Day decided to be the offensive coordinator for yesterday's game, he decided to be the play caller, is because he feels some type of way about Brian Hartline taking the head coaching job at USF. Brian Hartline is our wide receivers coach, longtime wide receiver coach. Um, and he's responsible for the guys and development of guys like Marvin Harrison, Jackson Smith, Enigma, Chris Olave, Jeremiah Smith last year. I mean, this guy has produced some of the best wide receivers, and he got promoted to offensive coordinator this season, and he's taking the head coaching job at USF. A lot of history there, I believe, a couple of his friends, whatever, and it's a good opportunity for him, but that doesn't change the fact that you know Ryan Day could feel some type of way of him leaving because he's been responsible for very, very, successful, not just offense, but wide receivers. He has a lot of wide receivers that are in the first round, you know, play calling, etc. He knows the offense better than anybody on that staff. I believe he was the assistant offensive coordinator last year of all of his years, not just a wide receiver coach. So but you cannot wait until the biggest game of the season to do that. It's unacceptable by Ryan Day to feel like he would need to step up in there himself in order to win a playoff game, all because he feels some type of way about Brian Hartline taking the head coaching job at USF. I mean, it sucks because I Brian Hartline calls that game the way we do. We play, we win the game because look, I don't know why we didn't attack. I don't know why we were so soft on the offense. I don't know why we didn't we didn't throw like we usually do. We didn't do anything. I mean, I'll talk a little bit about defensively in a bit, but I just cannot get over the fact how we did not execute the way we needed to offensively, and it's disappointing because you know Julian Sane being in the Heisman runner, being one of the Heisman runner-ups as a true freshman, there was a lot of expectations. Obviously, he had an undefeated regular season, did he was supposed to do. Went into first game of the season in Texas, beat Texas, which ultimately didn't ended their playoff chances right then and there, and we beat Michigan. Um, so we walked into Michigan and beat Michigan. So obviously it's not the way we wanted to end, but I think we had a good season, regular season. I do think that um we played, we won every game we were supposed to. Obviously we won every single game, but we won the games that we were supposed to. But I gotta be honest, man, this was probably the least fun I had covering Ohio State football all season. I'm gonna be honest. I don't the games were so boring. I mean, we're playing against HBCUs and low tier Big Ten schools. I mean, it's no in the regular season. There's no excitement. The only excitement I get out of the regular season that we know that we're gonna get is the Michigan and Penn State game. The Penn State game was always huge. James Franklin, he got fired this year. Drew Allard didn't play. He's not the head coach. We don't play Penn State next year. I'm gonna pull up Ohio State's schedule for next year actually while I sit here. But it was a boring season. It was like last year was fun. We had we played against some really fun teams. Um, Last year we played Oregon twice. We played Nebraska. We played Indiana when they were hot. We played Tennessee in the first round of the playoffs. We played Texas. We played we had such a like last year was the funnest. I've been covering Ohio State football for the last 3 years. 3 years I've been covering Ohio State football. And since Kyle McCord, and I can honestly say you know, this was the funnest year we had. I mean, the Kyle McCord year was fun when we walked into Notre Dame and won on that last second uh, touchdown. But I mean, we lost our bowl game to Iowa that year. And there was another team that we lost to that I was very disappointed in, and I was like, well, obviously it was Michigan. Yeah, it was Michigan, but my point is this was the funnest year that I had covering a house. Or last year was the funnest year. This year was boring. I mean, we played no schools. We didn't really play anybody. This was our schedule. I mean, chat. This was the schedule that we had this year. We had Texas, which again, big game. We took care of business. Gremlin State, they're in HBCU. Ohio, Washington, which they haven't been relevant since the Michael Penix days. Minnesota, Illinois, Wisconsin, which they've lost all relevancy since the TJ Watts left and then all them. Nick Herbigs and all them. I'm not just saying them because they're Steelers guys, but they're really good Wisconsin players that played on a decent team. Penn State, which we know what happened with Franklin and Drew Aller. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers. Obviously, this game is huge. And then the last two games were big, but we lost big games in the Big Ten championship and now in the quarterfinals, Cotton Bowl in the college football playoffs. Look, we gotta have a funner schedule. I gotta figure out the schedule for next year, and I'm gonna pull it up for you guys right now because I want to see the schedule that we have. I mean, we have to fix our schedule. We do. So, is this our is this our schedule, chat? I see this is an article from elevationwarriors.com/Ohio State's future schedules. So these are all times to be determined, but if this is legit, um a mock schedule. So this could be our future. I don't know if this is right, um, because we're not playing Michigan. Well, okay, these are to be determined dates. So this, I mean, this could be realistic, right? And if this is our schedule next year, it's gonna be a fun year. It's gonna be a fun year with Texas, Michigan, Oregon, Indiana, Iowa, even USC, even because not Nebraska, because Dylan is hitting the transfer portal. So it's gonna be a fun year next year if that is the legit schedule for Ohio State football. They got to give us more primetime games. Um, it is embarrassing being the number one team in all of college football all season and not being on primetime television. I think that's fucking ridiculous. For Ohio State football. I understand contract they situations. More primetime games. I understand Fox. It is embarrassing being the number can't one get any other ratings during the college football season if it's not us. But we got it, dude. Put us on Peacock, 7:30 twice a year. There is no way that the Ohio State and Michigan game should be at noon. At noon, I'm fucking sick of that. Give us the prime time 7:30, especially when at the end of the season it could implicate a lot of things. You're gonna tell me the last year that they did the 4 playoffs where Michigan won it, where they beat Ohio State. If Ohio State wins that game, they're likely in the national championship game. They're fighting for that last spot essentially in the committee's eyes. Why is it that if it comes down to that situation next, obviously that a lot of things are happening with Michigan football, right? Sharon Moore, all this stuff. Go check out my videos on YouTube at the PGH Chris TV show if you missed those videos. I do a whole dive in on that. But I'm saying this: why are we getting primetime games? Why is it when it could come to winner goes to the Big Ten championship, or let's say Michigan and Ohio State do end up in the Big Ten championship, like, which I don't really see how that could happen unless we both go undefeated and one of in Indiana has a bad year. It could happen, but it's most likely unlikely. It usually comes down to that game, which is no secret, no coincidence that that game is scheduled for the last game of the season during rival week. So it's interesting. Next year's going to be interesting, but that to go a little bit back on that loss yesterday, it's just it is devastating. We got 10 people in the chat. Oh yeah, we appreciate you guys being here. To talk a little bit about some Ohio State football, recap the season a little bit here. They started off good in Texas. I'm not going to go into every single game because all the games were boring, like I mentioned. But I'll talk about the games that stood out to me the most and what I liked, what I didn't like. But I liked pretty much everything I saw this season. I did like the aggressiveness on the offense, obviously, until yesterday. I don't think Jeremiah Smith obviously got as much receptions as he did last year. I think Will Howard was kind of that perfect quarterback for the deep ball. Not saying that Julian Saying's not. I think, for the most part this season, his accuracy has been on point. He has been very, very well at just getting a reception, making a pass when he needs it, and he makes the important passes when he needs them down the field. Obviously, we saw that with Carnell Tate 2 times, I believe, against the Northwestern game. What it was some team. I forget. I'm sorry. It was a long, boring regular season, but that one game where Carnell Tate went off for 2 touchdowns. I mean, he did what he had to do. He hit Jeremiah Smith when he had to. Um, but I don't think we gave him the ball enough, like we did last year. We had to keep giving him the ball, especially when those 2 weeks, last 2 weeks, at the end of our regular season, where he didn't play. And I still don't think we got Jeremiah Smith warmed up enough, ready to go for the rest of the playoffs. And it sucks. It sucks. It's gonna, again, they had a lot to talk about. Ryan Day has a lot to reflect. Has a lot of thinking to do for next season. I'm a little worried. I'm seeing a lot of people like the stupid Dave Portnoys of the world that claim that Jeremiah Smith is going to transfer to Miami, that transfers are coming. I don't necessarily disagree with him in the fact that transfers are coming for Ohio State, especially, but maybe at the wide receiver position. But look, we just got, I think, Chris Henry Jr. that's committed to Ohio State. I think Carnell Tate has another year left. He's a junior. Maybe he'll come back for his senior year. Why not? Or is he yeah, or is he a junior? Is this his junior year? One of the two. But I think there's going to be a lot of thinking that those guys are going to do. I mean, with Jeremiah Smith, obviously he has ties to Miami. That's originally where he wanted to go. Um, a lot of these guys go there for Brian Hartline. A lot of these guys are there for Brian Hartline. So it's gonna. I'm not gonna sit here and fully be in denial and say I'm not at least a little bit nervous. At least, sorry, excuse me. I'm not gonna sit here and be in denial and say I'm not at least a little bit nervous about the potential transfers of our best offensive players, but I just I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't really see how uh, Ohio State could collapse. I don't think we collapse. I think we still get a lot of recruits and all that good stuff. But overall, I thought the season was good. Not the way we wanted it to end. But there's another complaint I want to talk about. There's something else that I want to get into. But before I get into that, let's hear from another word from our sponsor, DUBBY. DUBBY Energy. Again, DUBBY is the official sponsor of PGH Chris Productions alongside the PGH Chris TV show. Make sure you guys go check out the Sports Jedi Network at Sports Jedi Media on X and Twitter. We are live tonight for a TNA watch along. I unfortunately probably won't be able to make it. But we are live tonight at 7:45 on the Rumble on YouTube. So go check out what we're doing at the Sports Jedi Network, Sports Jedi Media, gearing up for the January 5th show. And it's going to be a good one. That's what I'm excited for, at least, coming up. And that's when I'm going to get the ball rolling really, really well. Grind mode starts, still finishing up the holiday season this week. But let's hear from Dubby. Dubby, the official sponsor.
Make sure to use code PGHCHRIS
TV
at
Production.
checkout for 10% off your order for Dubby. Join the Dubby movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGH Chris TV show. Now, let's get back to our program. All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHCHRIS at checkout for 10% off your order for Dubby. Join the Dubby movement and be better. And a quick thank you to all of our partners and sponsors of the PGH Chris TV show. Now, let's get back to our.
Thank you to all.
All right, everybody, make sure to use code PGHCHRIS at checkout for.
Whoopsies, production error. Thank you to all of our sponsors and all of our partners here at the PGH Chris TV show. I'm very appreciative for you guys. Thank you all for a great year, and can't wait to kill it with you guys again this year. All right, my last thing I want to get into before I end this is I want to talk about the college football schedule. I know Nick Saban talked about this earlier on College Game Day, which is kind of why I wanted to bring it up myself. How come these first round games are so late? Why are these first round or second round games so late? Look what Oregon did to Texas Tech. That Texas Tech defense has been strong all year, and they looked lost. They look lost. 0-6. Now it's 1-6 because Indiana is about to beat Alabama right now. But that first round bye curse is there. 0-6 before technically still because the game's not over. Teams that are in the first round lose. No team has won that has had that first round bye in the year and a half that the 12 team playoff format has been around. So that that interests me a little bit because I think there has to be a lot of change. And I know this is still new, but we're gonna have this conversation every year. What teams should have got in? What teams didn't get in? When they should play, when they shouldn't play. But it's the reality because I truly think this committee is fucking clueless. I think some of these people don't know what the hell they're doing. I think a lot of them are fucking in the pro wrestling world we call them marks. I think they're freaking marks that watch the games and you know they don't really know what the fuck they're watching because you're going to tell me that you're going to put G5 schools in the playoffs over a Northern Dame now. I still don't think they should be in the playoffs over Miami or really any of the top ACC, Big 12, Big 10, SEC schools. But they should fucking be in over, you know, Tulane and James Madison. And that's no disrespect, but we saw how their games played out in the first round. And JMU I actually thought they were like, whoa, I thought they impressed me in like the first 10 minutes, first maybe quarter of the game. And I was like, okay, this is a fucking wrap. But the scheduling is really what I'm annoyed. There's no way we need to wait till New Year's Eve to play these games. First round, you should have the Sunday. It is announced that the playoffs, when they do that committee show on the Sunday, where they announce all the football play or all the fucking teams in the playoffs, the next Saturday or that Friday is when they need to start the first round, second round, and then this should have been the semifinals. This should have been the Fiesta Bowl. And then the national championship should be next. You take 2 weeks for the national championship for both schools, fine. But you need to push. If they pushed the schedule back one more week is all I need for the schedules to be fine, in my opinion. I think the schedules will work. We don't need a New Year's Eve game for a team that has not played football in 3 weeks. Same thing with Indiana, even though they're about to win. Same thing with Texas Tech, and same thing with Georgia. We should not have to wait 2 weeks to play these fucking games. And I said the same thing last year when Ohio State was not in the first round bye, when they were in the first round. And hell, I wanted to be in the first round. Maybe we shouldn't. See, this committee is so freaking weird because you would think you want to play for a first round bye, but it's just like, it's such a disadvantage. It's such a disadvantage. The first round buys aren't they don't mean shit anymore. They really aren't useful, in my opinion. Look how it's turned out. The stats say for themselves, and just by watching the games, I can tell that this shit does not make sense. Um, so I'm hoping they change that next season going forward. But I don't know what else I got for you guys. I think this is pretty much going to be it. I appreciate you guys checking me out here on X all season. Um, Thank you guys. I cannot wait to be here again next season talking with you guys. Stay in touch. Stay on the lookout. Maybe some off season news, some stuff. I know there's gonna be transfers. I know there's gonna be hires. All that stuff. We just recruited um a new offensive coordinator or new wide receivers coach. Um, so get ready for that. They looks like they figured out who's gonna take the spot of Brian Hartline. So we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see. It's gonna be an interesting season. But I thank you guys for being here with it. Cortez Hankton is his name. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But thank you guys for so much for being here. I appreciate you guys. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and follow. And I will see you guys in the next one.